Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell accuses the government of going after the agency over interest rates following Justice Department subpoenas. President Trump says he has no knowledge of the investigation as stock futures fall. Federal agents surge into Minnesota as ICE ramps up operations. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem says hundreds more agents are arriving. President Trump says the Iranian regime is seeking negotiations after he warned of possible military action. What Trump is saying as unrest escalates in the Islamic Republic. The battle over whether boys who identify as girls can participate in girls' sports is entering the Supreme Court. Ahead of justices hearing the cases tomorrow, state attorney generals and athletes held a news conference today. Nurses in New York City have begun their largest strike in the city's history. Nearly 16,000 nurses walk off the job as the union says talks have stalled.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell says the central bank has been served with grand jury subpoenas by the Department of Justice. Powell confirmed yesterday that officials threatened a criminal indictment over his Senate Banking Committee testimony in June 2025. The testimony concerned, in part, a multi-year project to renovate historic Federal Reserve office buildings. The central bank chief dismissed the idea that this criminal probe was driven by his testimony or the renovation. Powell called the threat of criminal charges a consequence of the Federal Reserve's handling of interest rates. His remarks came hours after reports surfaced that federal prosecutors opened their inquiry. President Trump says he has no knowledge of the DOJ's investigation into the Fed chair. Trump criticized Powell in an interview with NBC News yesterday. He accused him of not doing a good job. Trump denied applying pressure through the probe, saying he wouldn't even think of doing that. The president says the real pressure comes from interest rates being far too high. U.S. stock futures slid to start the week, with the Dow, S&P 500, and NASDAQ futures all lower as investors reduced risk. At the same time, gold prices surged to a new high, breaking $4,600 an ounce. That's as traders moved into safe haven assets amid rising uncertainty. National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett this morning commented on the investigation.
I respect the independence of the Justice Department and the Fed, but I've not seen any materials that have been handed to the Fed by the Justice Department. I guess the question is, if you think the building costs $20 billion or $10 billion, do you think at some point that it's appropriate for the federal government to investigate? And seems like the Justice Department has decided that they want to see what's going on over there with this building that's, massively more expensive than any building in the history of Washington. And if I were Fed chair, I would want them to do that. I think that it's really important to understand where the taxpayer money goes and to understand why it goes this way or that.
President Trump is returning to Michigan tomorrow to give a speech at the Detroit Economic Club in the afternoon. We'll bring it to you live, so make sure to tune in. And President Trump continues to assert that the U.S. needs to take control of Greenland. The president yesterday repeated what he sees as the risk of Russia and China gaining the upper hand on the island.
If we don't take Greenland, Russia or China will take Greenland, and I am not going to let that happen.
Is there any deal they can offer you?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to make a deal with them. It's easier. But one way or the other, we're going to have Greenland. You know what their defense is? 2 dog sleds. In the meantime, you have Russian destroyers and submarines and China destroyers and submarines all over the place. We're not going to let that happen.
In the meantime, are you going to...
And if it affects NATO, then it affects NATO.
Trump said again that he would like to make a deal to acquire Greenland, a semi-autonomous region that's part of NATO ally Denmark. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen has warned that an American takeover of Greenland will mark the end of NATO. Greenland is the largest island in the world, which is not a continent. It has a population of around 57,000 and doesn't have its own military. NATO chief Mark Rutte says there's no crisis over President Trump's interest in Greenland. He says that NATO is also interested in protecting the Arctic from common adversaries.
Let me first of all stress that all allies agree on the importance of the Arctic and Arctic security, because we know that with sea lanes opening up, there is a risk that the Russians and the Chinese will be more active. And as you know, so no crisis whatsoever. No, not at all. And I think we are really working in the right direction here.
Rutte added that he thinks President Trump is taking helpful steps for the alliance. The NATO chief says that without Trump, alliance members wouldn't have agreed to increase their defense spending. Similar to Rutte, Trump also pointed out the threat posed by China and Russia. The president says the best solution would be to strike a deal with Denmark so the U.S. can protect Greenland. And anti-government protests are escalating in Iran and have entered their third week. President Trump is again warning the U.S. could take military action in response to the regime's treatment of protesters. Here's more.
President Trump says Iran's leadership is seeking negotiations after he warned of possible military action, speaking on Air Force One.
Yesterday, the leaders of Iran called they want to negotiate. I think they're tired of being beat up by the United States.
As massive protests rock the country, President Trump says he is weighing a range of responses to escalating unrest, including possible military options.
There seem to be some people killed that aren't supposed to be killed. These are violent. If you call them leaders, I don't know if they're leaders or just they rule through violence. But we're looking at it very seriously. The military is looking at it. And we're looking at some very strong options.
The Iranian parliament speaker on Sunday warned the U.S. against what he called a miscalculation.
Know that in case of an attack on Iran, the occupied lands, as well as U.S. military bases in the region, will be our legitimate targets.
Trump responded to Iran's threat of retaliation.
If they do that, we will hit them at levels that they've never been hit before. And they won't even believe it.
Trump also said yesterday that he plans to speak with Elon Musk about restoring internet in Iran. Authorities have blacked out services since Thursday.
Well, we're going to be talking about that. We may get the internet going, if that's possible. We may speak to Elon, because as you know, he's very good at that kind of thing. He's got a very good company.
Iran's current protests began on December 28th in response to soaring prices before turning against the Islamic regime that has governed since the 1979 revolution. A human rights group said yesterday the ongoing unrest has killed more than 500 people. The U.S.-based group Human Rights Activists in Iran said it had verified the deaths of 490 protesters and 48 security personnel. It also said more than 10,000 people have been arrested in the 2 weeks of unrest. Meanwhile, Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, the exiled son of Iran's last Shah, has called on Iranians to continue their protests. And in Los Angeles, chaos yesterday during a protest against the Iranian regime. Police say a man drove a U-Haul through a crowd of protesters. A sign on the side of the truck said, "No Shah, no regime, USA don't repeat 1953, a reference to the 1953 coup instigated by the U.S. government and the Shah. 2 people suffered minor injuries. Protesters surrounded the truck and began smashing the vehicle's windows. Police said they detained the driver pending further investigation. They did not publicly identify him. It's unclear whether the event was an intentional attack.
War Secretary Pete Hegseth is traveling to Brownsville, Texas today for a speech alongside Elon Musk. According to a War Department press release, the two will speak to SpaceX leaders and staff. The department also said the secretary would, quote, administer the oath of enlistment to the next generation of American warfighters. Hegseth will also visit Lockheed Martin on his trip. To discuss the latest on the Iranian protests, joining us is Brian Lieb, foreign policy analyst and CEO of Henry Public Relations. Good to have you as always, Brian. I just want to ask you to start off here. Iranian officials have said that in the case of an Iranian attack, the occupied territories, as well as all U.S. bases and ships, will be our legitimate target. We just reported on this in the previous package. What does this mean to you, Brian?
Don, good to be back with you. Listen, the Islamic Republic of Iran is one big paper tiger at this point. They can't even get the protests that are happening inside of Iran under control right now. They publicly have admitted that they don't have the capacity to get these protests under control. So, they can threaten all they want about, what they potentially might be able to do. But at the end of the day, they don't have the capabilities that they like to brag about and like the world to think that they have. So I think it's all talk, to be honest with you.
Okay, with that being said, Brian, do you think this statement comes from a place of nervousness, perhaps? It doesn't seem like it's from a place of confidence, or perhaps it's something else. What do you think?
You're exactly correct, Don. That's a great read on that. This is not coming from a place of strength. This is coming from a place of weakness. The regime is, by the way, they're not just weak in the sense of millions of people all throughout Iran taking to the streets, protesting, burning Iranian IRGC buildings to the ground. They're weak in the sense that they don't have any money left. The Iranian rial is at the lowest level it has ever been before, and that's how this latest round of protests started, is because the Iranian economy was running out of money. So again, they have never been this weak. Everything that they're doing right now is coming from a position of weakness, and I just think the images and the videos that we see on our screen right now, as someone myself that's been advocating on behalf of the Iranian people for a long time now, these women, these men, they're just so brave in what they're doing, and I think we're just they are just so close to finally breaking free from this regime once and for all.
Okay, you're saying they're close to breaking free. Can you just speak then to how significant are these protests right now? Are they different than protests before this?
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked that. And I think I'd also like to take the opportunity just to say that maybe all of us should stop calling these protests, because at this point, this is a full-blown revolution in the making right now. I have never seen the Iranian people taking to the streets in these mass numbers and in so many cities. It's not just small cities that are 50 or 100 miles away from Tehran. A lot of the images and videos that you're seeing on the screen right now, they're coming from Tehran, from Iran's capital. So this is it's so meaningful. This is the largest revolution that we have seen in years. And I just think, again, I think they're so close right now. And the one thing that's always been missing on the Iranian people's behalf is they've never had a real champion, whether it was in the White House or the EU, or someone that just has so much power and so much influence. And we've seen what President Trump has been saying now, leading up to where we're at in today's world against Iran. He's standing by the Iranian people, and that in itself is so powerful, and it's led to the moments that we're seeing now. So we'll see what President Trump does next. I think something big is coming, but at the end of the day, this revolution is happening, of course, because of the bravery and courage of the Iranian people, but also because President Trump has stood up and he's supporting the Iranian people.
Okay, so with President Trump's support and his remarks on what he would do if the Iranian regime starts killing protesters, and with you saying that this is a full-blown revolution, how worried is the Iranian regime right now about these protests being able to threaten its survival or its rule?
Yeah, I think they're extremely concerned, and one of the biggest reasons that they are so concerned, of course, they're concerned about what President Trump might do. They're concerned about what the Israelis might do. But again, they literally are running out of money. The Iranian economy is on the brink of collapse right now. There is no money to go around, and that's always how this regime, Don, has stayed in power, is because they had enough money to push around to the inner circle of the IRGC to keep people from revolting, and also to push IRGC people out into the streets to kill their own compatriots. They don't have any money right now. That's a big issue for a country like Iran, of 80 million people. But I think President Trump is going to act. I think we've seen what his track record is, and he's going to stand up and support the Iranian people. I wouldn't be surprised if within the next 12 to 24 to 48 hours, there's some very, very serious U.S. offensives against IRGC sites really designed to cripple this regime once and for all. That's really all it's going to take at this point. Again, the Iranian people have never gathered at this level in the capital of Tehran like this. So it's just a matter of the IRGC being weak enough, and I think the Iranian people are going to take over.
Okay, so we know President Trump's stance, his position on this, and his support, but I don't want to forget about Elon Musk's Starlink's role in Iran and the importance of it as protests continue amid an internet blackout, right, imposed by officials. So how important is the flow of information and Starlink right now to these protests?
I think Starlink is just so critical right now because the Iranians, in partnership with the Chinese, the CCP, and the Russians, they have been, there's been no internet now inside of the Islamic Republic of Iran for, I think at least 3 or 4 or 5 days now. So the only way that anything is getting out is because of Starlink. From what I heard this morning, it sounds like there are operations underway to get even more Starlink capabilities going inside of Iran right now. But yeah, it's mission critical for more Starlink to be there.
Yeah, and President Trump said he's working to try to restore internet in Iran. Well, Brian Leib, foreign policy and analyst and CEO of Henry Public Relations, thank you very much for speaking with us today.
Thanks so much, Don. Talk to you soon.
Yeah. President Trump says relations with Venezuela's leadership are working out well. He was speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One yesterday, saying he plans to meet with Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, soon.
Venezuela is really working out well. We're working along really well with the leadership, and we'll see how it all works out. Look, she asked us, can we take 50 million barrels of oil? And I said, yes, we can. It's $4.2 billion. And it's on its way right now to the United States.
Trump added that he might block ExxonMobil from investing in Venezuela. This comes after the oil giant CEO called the country uninvestable during a White House meeting last week. CEO Darren Woods told Trump that Venezuela would need to change its laws before it could be an attractive investment opportunity. Trump said yesterday he didn't like Exxon's response, telling reporters he'd probably be inclined to keep them out. The U.S. Embassy in Venezuela says the security situation in the country remains fluid. It warned U.S. citizens this weekend not to travel to Venezuela, reiterating warnings dating back to 2019. It said international flights have resumed and all U.S. citizens should leave the country immediately. The embassy said they should take precautions and be aware of their surroundings, citing reports of armed militias setting up roadblocks and searching vehicles for evidence of U.S. citizenship or support for the United States. And federal agents surge into Minnesota as ICE ramps up operations. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem says hundreds more agents are arriving. More news after this break.
All throughout your home, appliances and systems just wait for the worst time to break down and leave you with expensive repairs. Unless you have a plan from Choice Home Warranty.
All home appliances and systems have a breakdown clock, and when it expires, it will cost hundreds and potentially even thousands of dollars to fix or replace. That's why every homeowner should have a plan with Choice Home Warranty, like I do. For a low monthly fee, a Choice Home Warranty plan will cover your heating, air conditioning, plumbing, appliances, and more. Don't let an unexpected repair wreck your budget. With Choice Home Warranty, that covered repair is fixed or replaced for you.
Choice Home Warranty has been a great company to work with, and they've taken care of us. I would suggest anybody who lives in a home not to be in a home without them.
Avoid the ticking clock of home appliances and systems breaking down with a plan from Choice Home Warranty. Call now to get your first month free. Call in the next 10 minutes and we'll give you $120 off your first year of coverage. That's $200 in total savings.
With a nationwide network of over 25,000 technicians, I don't worry about how my next breakdown will be handled. With a click of a button, my claim is filed, and Choice Home Warranty starts the clock. They do the legwork, hiring the right technician and handling the cost of covered repairs and replacements. And check this out. For a limited time, you can get 1 month of coverage free. Did you hear me? Free. You can't beat that deal with a sledgehammer. But hurry, this offer is ticking away. Once the clock hits 0, poof, it's gone.
Don't fear the breakdown clock. Get a plan from Choice Home Warranty and get round-the-clock money-saving protection you can count on. Call in the next 10 minutes and we'll give you $120 off your first year of coverage, plus get your first month free. This offer won't last long.
Get your home protected. Call now.
Don't wait for an appliance or system to break down. Call before that happens. Call 800-983-3523. 800-983-3523.
Say goodbye to harsh, bitter coffee and hello to a delicious, smooth brew. With specialty quality beans, expertly roasted in-house, you'll taste the difference with every sip. Fermented with a blend of 50 enzymes, Days Coffee delivers a rich brew like no other. Made with the highest grade specialty beans available, you're sure to taste the difference. Elevate your morning with Days Enzyme Fermented Coffee.
And now a look at Minnesota and the ICE operations there to apprehend criminal illegal immigrants. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem says hundreds more agents are on the way. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more as tensions have heated up after an ICE officer was involved in a fatal shooting last week.
DHS recently sent 2,000 federal immigration agents to Minneapolis, and hundreds were set to arrive yesterday and today amid widespread fraud allegations. Protests erupted after a January 7th incident in which an ICE officer fatally shot a protester as she hit him with her car in an apparent attempt to flee. Minnesota officials are calling for state authorities to be included in the shooting investigation. President Trump reacted to the incident aboard Air Force One.
These people have been harassed and threatened every day. They had bands out playing so they couldn't sleep at the hotel. I see what they're doing to them. They're threatening them constantly. And all they're doing is doing what I got elected on.
Trump said he believes the woman and her friend behaved like professional agitators.
The woman and her friend were highly disrespectful of law enforcement. You saw that. They were harassing them, were following for days and for hours.
Trump said people have to respect law enforcement.
At a very minimum, that woman was very, very disrespectful to law enforcement. And you heard the same noises. You saw the same crunch that I saw. You can't do that with law enforcement, whether it's police or ICE or Border Patrol or anybody else.
Homeland Security Chief Kristi Noem defended the officer.
Law enforcement officers every day in this country are in difficult situations where they have to make split-second decisions to protect themselves, the public, and their colleagues, and that they have to rely on their training. That's exactly what this officer did.
Noem questioned the fairness of media coverage of the incident.
I haven't heard you say once what a disservice it's done for Mayor Fry to get up and to tell ICE to get the F out of his city, and AOC to stand up before she had any of the facts and call this officer a murderer. For individuals, well, call them out, Jake. Spend as much time calling them out.
Noem says ICE is making the streets safer.
These sanctuary cities, such as Minneapolis, are extremely dangerous for American citizens. And Jake, since we've been there, we've arrested dozens and dozens of murderers and rapists, individuals who have assaulted children and sodomized them.
Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry pushed back, saying there have been 2 shootings so far this year in the city, and one involved ICE.
This is a safe city. ICE and Kristi Noem and everything they're doing is making it far less safe.
Police Department Chief Brian O'Hara says he'll be the first to stand up for cops he supervises if he believes they acted within the law.
We have to use caution. even as Tom Homan has said, and allow a full and impartial investigation to proceed.
Border czar Tom Homan said he believes the officer thought his life was in danger, speaking on Fox News.
Let's stop the hateful rhetoric. You can't compare this to murder. Murder requires malice, and that is just dangerous to put that type of language out. Let the investigation play out and see where it lies.
Homan says it's important to remember why ICE is in the city to begin with.
Because you're a sanctuary city that purposely releases public safety threats back into the public. I just mentioned about all these cases of child sex trafficking, child sodomy, child rape, that they release back into the community. These are people we have to go look for. And who set the stage for all this? The last 4 years of an open border, millions of people released in this country without vetting, a lot of criminals, a lot of national security threats.
Tens of thousands of people took to the streets of Minneapolis yesterday and Saturday to protest the shooting of Renee Nicole Good. Conflicts between protesters and ICE officers took place outside a federal building that the agency is using as a detention facility.
The clashes also embroiled conservative influencer Nick Sorder, who sped off from the scene with fellow influencer Cam Higbee after conflicts with protesters culminated in his vehicle being surrounded. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
The woman killed in Minnesota, Renee Good, was reportedly part of an activist group which shared so-called de-arrest instructions with members. It's called Minnesota ICE Watch. The group has chapters across the country, including in New York. According to the National Review, the Minnesota branch shared a post on Instagram that described how to de-arrest a person. One post suggesting pushing or pulling an officer off an arrestee. It appears the post was removed on Friday. The New York Post reports that a friend described Good as an ICE Watch warrior. The Department of State revealed that it revoked more than 100,000 foreign visas last year. That's twice the Biden administration from the year before. The department says the majority of visas pulled were from business people and tourists who overstayed their time. About 8,000 were from students and about 2,500 were from specialized workers. A department spokesperson explained that these were mostly due to criminal charges and arrests. The Trump administration says it's reviewing all 55 million foreign visas and is enforcing stricter standards to obtain a U.S. visa. Meanwhile, President Trump is warning credit card companies they will be in violation of the law if they fail to comply with his deadline for capping interest rates. The president has given companies until the 20th of this month to cap their interest rates at 10%. His comments came aboard Air Force One yesterday. Listen.
No, I want a cap on credit card interest rates because, some of them are 28, almost 30%. And that the people don't know they're paying 30%. The people out there, they're working and they have no idea that they're paying 30%. No way. We're putting a one-year cap at 10%. And that's it. They know it. They've really abused the public. The credit card companies have totally abused it. I'm not going to let it happen.
For now, Trump's demand has no legislation to back it up. However, lawmakers from both parties have raised concerns in recent years about high rates and have called for those to be addressed. Several industry groups, including the Bank Policy Institute and Consumer Bankers Association, have responded to Trump's call. In a joint statement Friday, they said they share the president's goal of helping Americans access more affordable credit, but a 10% interest rate cap will reduce credit availability for millions of families and small business owners. They said the cap would drive spenders toward less regulated and more costly alternatives. As lawmakers are working to find a deal on lowering healthcare costs, President Trump justifies ending COVID-era tax credits to support Obamacare. His comments come after several Republicans broke ranks on the issue. NTD's Melina Weisskopf has more.
The COVID-era tax subsidies that help pay for Obamacare expired at the beginning of the month. Senators on Capitol Hill now under pressure to find a path to address health care costs.
I am hopeful next week that the Senate will be able to put out a bill that is a compromise that addresses the extension with reforms, including income limits, insurance reforms, the elimination of zero premium plans.
Because it has to conform first with what President Trump says he wants, which, by the way, I totally agree with. And that is, don't give 100% of the money to the insurance companies who take 20% of it for profit and overhead. Give the money to the patient. and she will use.
President Trump on Sunday sought to justify an end to the enhanced Obamacare subsidies, sharing comments from the D.C. think tank Cato Institute calling for Congress to stop talking about extending the taxpayer-funded subsidies. Instead, the think tank's health policy director calls to restore health insurance relief from Trump's first term. In the post copied by Trump, the director said, "It won't destabilize Obamacare, much simpler than what President Trump's advisors are selling him, much better to assuage the fears of nervous Democrats." The president's post comes after several House Republicans voted with Democrats to extend Obamacare subsidies for 3 years.
The People's House has just delivered a decisive victory for the American people by extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits to prevent tens of millions of Americans from experiencing dramatically increased health insurance premiums.
Though most Republicans oppose the extension, several of them told NTD it's a waste of tax dollars.
We were able to uncover through an investigation that the same Social Security number was used 125 times, the same one, to apply for these insurance premiums, and it was accepted 125 times. Wow. So we know that there is rampant waste, fraud, and abuse in that system.
Even with those tax credits in place, Obamacare premiums have skyrocketed. So they're not applying the tax credits, to keep prices under control.
In my view, I don't see the logic behind increasing subsidies on a known broken system, and that's what this is.
House Republicans are calling on top health insurance executives to testify later this month. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
The largest nurses' strike in New York City history began today after talks collapsed. Union officials say nearly 15,000 nurses are walking off the job. The strike will affect some of the city's largest privately run hospitals, including Mount Sinai, Montefiore Einstein, and New York Presbyterian. The union is demanding an increase in wages, including increased staffing as well and full health care coverage. In addition, workplace protections against violence and safeguards on the use of AI in healthcare. The New York State Nursing Association said yesterday that contract talks with those hospital systems have stalled. Governor Kathy Hochul has declared a state of emergency, warning a strike could threaten patient safety. And tomorrow, the Supreme Court will hear a landmark case on transgender athlete bans. Ahead of the justices hearing arguments, state attorney generals and athletes held a press conference. Listen.
As Republican attorneys general, we are committed to doing everything we can to protect them. Women and girls should feel safe in the locker rooms and have the opportunity to participate in fair competitions. My colleagues from Idaho and West Virginia are not the only AGs fighting these battles. This is happening all over the country.
For the first time, the Supreme Court is entering the arena when it comes to the debate whether boys who identify as girls can participate in girls' and women's sports. Lower courts have separately ruled that bans in West Virginia and Idaho violate the Title IX civil rights law. The states want the justices to overturn the federal court's decision and reinstate the laws. Athletes at the news conference shared their feelings about the case. Listen.
We are fighting for the bare minimum here. The bare minimum. Can we as women call ourselves champions? Can we allow ourselves to be vulnerable in an intimate area of undressing, such as a locker room, without having to fear a man walking into that space? Can we do those things? I surely hope, I'm very optimistic, that we will see a favorable ruling here.
There are 27 states with transgender athlete bans, and this is based on data from nonprofit Movement Advancement Project. The Supreme Court's ruling will determine the fate of those laws. And is the Iranian regime worried about protests threatening its rule? What will be the ripple effect if it collapses? Stay tuned after this break for a discussion.
I go by Jackie. I'm 44 years old. I had 3 kids at the time and single mother. I was working 60 hours a week. Still couldn't pay the bills. Skipped meals so that they could eat. It's been hard because one thing falls into place, 10 things fall out of place. I just can't do this alone and make it work.
1 in 5 children face hunger in America.
and food costs are rising. But everyone needs nourishing food to thrive, and they can when we work together so our neighbors can feed their families. Call or go online right now to join Feeding America with your gift of just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day. Together, thanks to a nationwide network of food banks, dedicated volunteers, and the monthly support of people like you, we can fill plates with nutritious food for families across America.
One day my mother came over to my house and said, "There's a meeting at the pantry." I said, "Okay." And I went. There were some ladies in there. They were from the food bank. They asked several questions. Some of those were about me and my story, but it helped me to open up a little bit.
We're getting closer to the day when no one in America faces hunger, but we can't do it without you. Call or go online now. Visit helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month, just 63 cents a day. 98% of donations go directly to help millions of people facing hunger, from coast to coast and in your own community. And when you give by credit card, we'll send you this exclusive canvas grocery bag to show you are a part of a movement of supporters working together to help end hunger.
I have people that I can trust. I have hope.
Please call now or make your monthly donation at helpfeedingamerica.org, and your gift can double in impact.
Whispered across generations, a hidden secret unveils the essence of longevity and vitality, a timeless legend regarding energy and wonder. Rooted in ancient health wisdom, we proudly introduce Pure Tang Black Ginseng, a 100% natural organic energy drink made from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng. It takes 2,260 days and nights from seed to growth, undergoing a meticulous 9-step process of steaming and drying. Black ginseng reaches its full potency, enriched with ginsenoside RG3 and enhanced absorption efficiency. No sugar, no caffeine, no artificial ingredients. Experience the pure natural power of Pure Tang Black Ginseng. Nourish your body, strengthen your immunity, and boost your energy. To order Pure Tang Black Ginseng, please visit puretang.com.
To talk about the latest on Iran and Venezuela, joining us is Joshua Phillip, senior investigative reporter for the Epoch Times and host of Crossroads on Epoch TV. So Josh, always great to have you on the show. So a human rights activist news agency said the death toll in the demonstrations rose to over 500 in Iran. And Trump has said that the U.S. could be hitting Iran very hard where it hurts. What are the potential military options available to the U.S.?
So I'd say two things. First off, what does it mean to be hit where it hurts with Iran? The most delicate thing for the Iranian regime right now is money, because money is what's driving forward a lot of these protests. Iran, of course, has been going at it with terror groups for a very long time. Back and forth with Israel. We saw, of course, the rocket attacks. That did not really crumble the regime. What's crumbling the regime are sanctions. And so sanctions are what hurt them the worst. If you remember the times when Iran almost collapsed, right? The leadership almost collapsed. Twice we can think of. One was when Barack Obama was president. Obama bailed them out with cash. It was because, pallets of cash. That was when Iran had actually captured American citizens. There was a prisoner swap, and Obama gave them money to buy them off, basically. The second time was end of Trump's first term in office, and again, sanctions were destroying the regime. Trump was pushed out of office. Biden came in. Biden relieved Iran of a lot of its money that was held up in sanctions, bailed out the regime again. So Iran now is being choked out on the financial side. The financial side affects people's general well-being. And people not happy with the general well-being are going and protesting. That's what you're now watching. So I believe personally, you're going to watch probably heavier sanctions or possibly targeted strikes on leadership, because Trump just demonstrated that as a new U.S., let's say, method when it comes to Venezuela. That could be Iran too soon.
Okay, so Josh, given that, how significant would you say these protests itself are? Is the Iranian regime worried about these protests being able to threaten its survival?
Extremely so. The Iranian regime is in its death throes right now. For a very long time, there's been a deep division, I'd say, between the leadership and the people of Iran. And, you know, they've maintained control of it somehow. A lot of that was through foreign intervention. China, Russia, very big partners of Iran. Iran, of course, has a lot of global influence. A lot is propped up by money. That is no longer currently in place. Not to mention that Iran was deeply hit during the back and forth they had with Israel, the kind of brief war, I guess you'd call it. One of the things that war did is it killed a lot of the leadership of Iran, especially on the military and intelligence side. And so a lot of the arms that would be carrying out operations to quell these riots on the more subversive front are dead. And it is possible we could see a leadership change, especially because now you have an alternate government for Iran stepping forward. The son of the former Shah is coming forward. You might see that happen.
Okay, so if we do see it, what would be the impact if the regime did in fact collapse? Specifically, how would it affect China?
Well, the Chinese Communist Party really has a handful of very powerful allies, powerful in their eyes, right? Russia is one of their top allies. Iran is one of their top allies. North Korea is not a powerful ally, but an ally nonetheless. Venezuela was one of their top allies in Latin America. It was kind of the beachfront for influence throughout Latin America. But really the triad, the triad they have of power is China, Iran, and Russia. Pull out the Iran side, China loses a lot of influence throughout the Arab world. They can still do oil deals. Other countries will still work with them, like the Saudis and stuff, but they're not going to be able to influence them like they were with Iran. Iran is also their beachfront with controlling a lot of the terror networks. And a lot of the terror networks are also deeply tied in with the drug trade as well, including in Latin America, actually. So this will pull out one of the key levers of influence for the Chinese Communist Party.
Okay, you mentioned Venezuela as well. So how does the recent actions like capturing Maduro, running Venezuela, taking over its oil sector, how is that going to impact the Chinese Communist Party?
Well, Venezuela was, as I mentioned, the beachfront for basically gaining access to all of Latin America. The key communist ally in Latin America for, the Cold War was Cuba. And, the American Monroe Doctrine basically led to the United States to block a lot of foreign intervention with that, the Cuban Missile Crisis, for example. After the Soviet Union collapsed, Cuba lost its main systems of, let's say, financial support. And its ability to project power, especially through subversion intelligence operations throughout Latin America, were fundamentally cut off for a large part. That all changed with Venezuela, thanks to Hugo Chavez, the former leader before Maduro. Hugo Chavez pushed out the United States working with Cuba. They created several basically intergovernmental organizations that rejected the United States, and then they imported Chinese influence. So, for example, Venezuela was the testing ground. A lot of the pilot programs for the Belt and Road Initiative were done in Venezuela. And the debt trap policies, the hundreds of deals they signed with China, that allowed the CCP to gain access to most of Latin America. And then also on the other front was pushing these countries to reject ties with the United States. So you pull out Venezuela, the CCP loses key influence throughout all of Latin America.
Okay, let's say hypothetically, what would be the combined impact if we get a regime change in Iran and the current situation in Venezuela? What would the impact of that for the CCP?
The CCP's international power is basically cut in half, is what that means. It means their influence is limited basically to, East Asia to an extent, even limited even, because of the conflicts you have, for example, between Thailand and Cambodia, between Japan and the Philippines and Vietnam pushing back against the CCP, South Korea kind of in a middle ground there, and also within Europe where Russia is trying to gain influence over, the former Soviet bloc, but also having a lot of sparring with Western Europe. The CCP's ability to project power into the Americas basically gone. The CCP's ability to project power into the Arab world, not totally gone, but heavily gone. And so this, and not only that, this also makes it so the CCP's war plans are very difficult. Previous military strategies from China talked about starting wars in Latin America, starting wars in the Middle East, a terror war, starting a war with Russia. This is before the Ukraine conflict. And also then, once they had those three starting the war with Taiwan, that timeline just got kneecapped, basically. When Trump abducted Maduro, and now you have Iran looking like it's going to collapse, that entire military strategy just got kneecapped. The CCP cannot do it right now and have a good chance at winning. It'd be very difficult for them as of now.
Okay, does all this have any impact on its domestic policies? It's like, for example, Xi Jinping's influence at home.
Well, it's hard to say whether the Chinese people understand, the international power projection issue. I think a lot of them are looking more at business affordability. You say that, losing Venezuelan oil impacts them a bit, not as much as people claim. They can still buy, sanctioned Russian oil, especially because they share a very long border. They can still buy Middle East oil, from the Saudis and so on. This more impacts the external programs, especially through the Belt and Road Initiative. You could say the Chinese construction industry inside China, it's already having trouble. This could mean outside of China, it's going to struggle even more. So you might actually watch them have more trouble on that front. Beyond that, it's going to be trade deals and so on. The Temu and Shein markets in, let's say, Africa and Latin America, maybe those will be shaken up. But I think you're going to see the impact more on the construction and real estate front, especially when it comes to foreign infrastructure.
Okay, any political impact within China?
Well, the CCP is always at each other's throats. The Chinese Communist Party leadership is always vying for control. And of course, you don't really have good guys and bad guys. You just have a lot of bad guys, frankly. They might try to claim that Xi Jinping, failed to maintain international power and try to oust him. I think they already tried ousting him and it didn't work. There's a very tough kind of spy versus spy battle within the CCP's leadership happening all the time. I don't know if this is going to change that at all. It does maybe make it more difficult if Xi Jinping wanted to take Taiwan, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, all right. We'll wait and see, Josh. Thank you again for speaking with us. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
People looking to have their voices heard held a freedom rally in support of the Iranian protests in New York City on Friday. NTD's Sean Marshall was there to document what people had to say and what bystanders thought about what's happening in Iran.
The rally took place on Friday for Iran freedom at Washington Square Park in Manhattan, New York. Attendees expressed a want for support from President Trump to help the civilians of Iran. They also expressed how close they are to a turning point for freedom in Iran and for some to one day be able to return home to a free country.
Just last year in 2025, over 1,800 people were executed for either speaking up, not wearing their hijabs, protesting against the government. Innocent lives have been lost. They are publicly hanging citizens.
The government decided to shut down the internet, also considering the threat that President Trump made. They have shut down the internet. They have cut off the landlines. Just think about that. People are not able to call their loved ones, not only internet. So people are sitting in complete blackouts so that the government can start their killing spree in complete silence while the world is not watching.
I am someone who describes myself as a recovering progressive because we have been let down by progressive movements, by democratic institutions and organizations that have claimed to support freedom and liberty, and yet no one is standing with our Iranian brothers and sisters. So I'm here on behalf of the free people of the world who refuse to stay silent and refuse to watch as our brothers and sisters keep getting brutalized.
It's been 1 hour already, and the people here are still chanting at the top of their voice. One thing's been clear is that attendees and Americans, even myself, have barely any clue of what's happening in Iran right now, other than what people are posting on the internet that they can.
But what I do know is that the current Islamic Republic regime has been very forceful. They're forcing women to cover themselves. and they're cutting off arms if you were to commit a small little crime. This is just what I learned, and that's, to me, that just doesn't sound like a country like this where we can just do whatever we want like we are right now.
Are you for or against the rally going on here today?
Makes no difference to me. I've never voted, never going to vote. I have no part in any of this. I just like the excitement.
All right, thanks for your honesty.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I like people showing energy and being passionate about stuff. But, you know, whether or not this does anything or changes how people see things, I don't know. I mean, protesting is trendy. It was cool to protest for Ukraine. It was cool to protest for Israel. Then it became cool to protest for Palestine. So, you know, countries' perspectives and images change every week. So it could be cool this week. It might not be cool next week.
I want them to have basic human rights, something that we take for granted here. That's my hopes for Iran. And I want to go back. And I want to step foot back into my native country again. And I want my dad to see a free Iran. So that's my hopes.
Sean Marshall, NTD News.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum says she had a good conversation with President Trump. The two talked about security, efforts to reduce drug trafficking, as well as trade and investment. In her daily press conference, Sheinbaum said she ruled out U.S. military intervention in Mexico. Trump last week on Fox News said cartels were running Mexico and suggested the U.S. could strike land targets to combat them. This comes just one day after Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke with his Mexican counterpart. The two discussed the need for stronger cooperation to tackle Mexico's narco-terrorist networks and stop the trafficking of fentanyl and weapons. Size isn't everything. A deer and a rhino clash in a Polish zoo, and the ending is unbelievable. You'll want to wait and watch for that after this break.
Performance that truly matters for each and every one of us. This is what you've been waiting for. See it at least once in your lifetime. Shen Yun. Get tickets now at shenyun.com.
I'm Amy Grant, and I want to talk to you from my heart about the heart. I would have been the last person on the list to say this woman has a problem with her heart. So no, there was nothing about my life that said, you have a ticking time bomb in your chest. But I did. I wound up in the office of a cardiologist because I was there with my husband. And at the tail end of that, the cardiologist looked at me and said, I want to see you. No one was more surprised than I was to learn I was living with a rare heart condition. He said, Amy, this condition, you'll be fine, and then catastrophic. A few months later, I had open heart surgery that saved my life. And I owe it to the research and life-saving medical breakthroughs developed by the American Heart Association. That's why I'm asking you to join me and become a monthly donor to the American Heart Association. Please call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough, get the next person trained in CPR, and get the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. If this could happen to me, it could happen to anybody. Heart disease is America's #1 killer, but your support can save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card and we'll send you this special t-shirt you can wear to show you're part of a community of monthly donors working to help save more lives like mine. I'm grateful for the American Heart Association. Their research gave me more time to do the things I love with the people I love. So listen to your heart. I'm here today because I did. Call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now to become a monthly donor. Give this holiday season and your first month's gift will be matched. Thank you.
Restaurant quality pho with no wait. In just 4 minutes you get bold authentic Vietnamese flavor with Pholicious. Available in beef or chicken. Crafted from real beef tallow or chicken, it's comforting and full of tradition. Just add your favorite fresh extras. Every bowl comes packed with everything you need for the ultimate pho experience and ready in minutes. Bring the bold, authentic flavors of Vietnam straight to your home. Pholicious is now available at Walmart or walmart.com.
A ski resort in the French Alps is turning to rescue drones powered by artificial intelligence. In addition to a winter sports destination, the mountain has become a base camp for the future. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the details.
More than 7,500 feet above sea level is Val Thorens, the highest elevation of any European ski resort. Its peak, more than 10,000 feet. But the breathtaking views and epic ski runs come with risks. Ski Patrol Tech Manager Olivier Gourdet says they're adopting drones to assist in their operations.
It is equipped with a thermal camera, a zoom camera that magnifies 200 times, and a wide spectrum camera. It fully meets all of our operational needs. Oh, I almost forgot, it also has a laser pointer that provides GPS coordinates from up to 1.1 kilometers away.
GPS à 1 km 100.
High above the slopes, the drone can spot details the human eye can't.
So, we also have the possibility to use a headset. But as a pilot, I have to look at the screen to be able to follow the drone, and another person can put the headset, like that, to be able to see the security mission and tell me if there are people that I would not have spotted.
Starting in January 2026, a new drone will join the Ski Patrol fleet. It can be launched into the air remotely from the patrol office. Inside, Ski Patrol monitors screens with real-time data from across the entire ski area. A live feed shows how thousands of skiers are moving across the mountain at any given time. New technologies will be game-changing for mountains like Val Thorens, which welcomed over 1 million skiers during the 2023-2024 winter season. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
A battle of epic proportions took place at a Polish zoo this month when a tiny deer took on a colossal Indian rhino and seemingly won. The 37-pound deer seemed undaunted, staring down the 1.8-ton Indian rhino. In a viral social media post, the zoo captioned the video, "Someone probably forgot to look in the mirror this morning." But the zoo says the massive rhino is very gentle and aware of her size. According to zookeepers, the rhino treated the encounter as fun and games. But for the deer, it was a fierce defense of his mate, who is in heat. The animals shared an enclosure in the zoo's Asia Pavilion, mimicking their natural habitat. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth is in Texas on a visit to SpaceX and Lockheed Martin. The visit is a continuation of a so-called Arsenal of Freedom tour. Find out more about that after this break.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Abused youth often feel safer on the street. Now, more than ever, that's the most dangerous place of all. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming, and no young person is ever turned away. Please call or go online now with your gift of $19 a month to help a young person. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Your gift will show them they're loved. Homeless young people are afraid and alone with nowhere else to turn.
You want to know that there's somewhere you can go that's safe. So the Covenant House did that for us.
Please call now with your gift of $19 a month. We'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. Please don't wait. Your gift is the lifeline a young person needs now. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org. Thank you for saving precious lives.
Whispered across generations, a hidden secret unveils the essence of longevity and vitality, a timeless legend regarding energy and wonder. Rooted in ancient health wisdom, we proudly introduce Pure Tang Black Ginseng, a 100% natural